here today. I'm Lolly Newsome, and I'm excited to welcome you guys to today's AMP Online Masterclass sponsored by the Chestnut Family Foundation. This class is on scales and techniques for advanced violin with Grace Kim. This is part 3 of a 4-part series. So our next class and our last class for this series will be Tuesday the 19th at 4 p.m. This is an interactive class, so our violinists listening, please have your violins out and ready to play along in the class. We will be bringing on some of you guys to demonstrate on the webinar, so be ready to turn on the camera and mic. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat function, in the question and answer on Zoom, and Grace will also ask some questions, possibly open-ended questions, so please be ready to submit your answers in the chat. And I hope you all enjoy the class.
Cool. Thank you, Lolly. Hi, everybody. My name is Grace, for those who don't know me out there in the internet. But it's so great to have you guys here, and I'm really excited about having several 9th graders and freshmen and sophomores in this class. So today I'd like to focus on Mazza Opus 36, number 8. And first of all, I'll just start by playing the etude for you guys.
Beautiful.
Thank you. All right, guys. So there's a lot of really great nuggets that we can get out of this etude. Something that draws my eyes in the beginning are all the dynamics, all the hairpins, all the crescendos and decrescendos that we see. And I wanted to try a really quick exercise with you guys to help us.
Hairpin.
So yeah, if you could leave it right there with the scales, that would be perfect. Before I go into that, I want to talk about So when we play an etude or when we play a piece, you've probably heard your teachers or conductors talk about bow management, bow distribution, bow planning, something like that. So we want to use our bow to the best of our abilities, to use it very efficiently. And something that I noticed in this etude is that, okay, so first of all, this etude is edited by Galamian, and we are going to follow this edition. So following those bowings, it kind of has the upside down natural use of gravity for a bow. So as we all know, the frog is where it's heavier. We have a more robust natural sound there because of gravity, and the tip, it's lighter, so we tend to be lighter up there if we're not managing our bow. So what we usually do is lighten up or suspend more at the frog and lean into the tip more so that we have an even solid brick of sound. So an etude, I mean, this is not really an etude, but it's just an exercise to help us get warmed up for this piece, for this etude, sorry. So it's the beginning half of number 8 is written in E minor. So let's just pick E minor scale, 1 octave. And what I'd like for us all to do is please get your violins out, and I'll do this, and you can do this with me. I'm going to start on an up bow. It doesn't matter what bow you start on, but whatever you do on your up bow, I want you to start quietly and crescendo to a nice strong sound. And when you go down bow, oh wait, I got messed up, sorry. This is the natural way of what we want to do. So yeah, on the up bow, we're going to start quietly, and we're going to get stronger as we get to the frog. That other point was for the next exercise. Sorry for the confusion. So we're going to start up bow. Let's set our metronomes to 60, okay? So I'm going to get my metronome. Okay, so we're going to play 2 beats per bow, starting on up bow. I'm going to start maybe piano and end up hopefully at a forte. And then on the down bow, sustain that forte and then come down to piano. Okay, so let's try this. Here we go. Ready, and. I'm sorry, I'm playing not E minor. All right, so I'm sorry for the confusion. So the second scale that I have is E major, and it's going to go opposite of what we want to do. So we're going to start down bow, but we're going to start quietly at the heavy part of the bow, and we're going to get louder. So it's going to sound like this. Okay. What I would love more than to show you is, would any of you want to demonstrate playing E major 1 octave, but with this dynamic?
Let's see. Anybody? Show us in the chat or raise your hand. And usually get a lot of volunteers. I'm going to pull Donovan on. Hey, Donovan.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's good.
Good. Are you on your phone?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Can you see
Right,
the oh?
Yeah, it's I can see well enough for
Yeah. It's going to be small, but it's also not that, it's hard to remember. It's just, yeah, E major scale.
So I'd love for you to play E major scale on your down bows. Can you start piano and crescendo? And then on your up bow, start loud and get quieter as you get to the frog. So basically at the frog, you're quiet, and at the tip, you're forte. So whenever you're ready, if you could try this exercise for all of us.
All right.
And we can do it with you. Awesome, Donovan. I would like you to stay there just for a moment. So I want to talk to you about this like driving. I'm not so sure if you guys are old enough to drive yet. You will eventually be. But I want you to think about crescendos and using the bow kind of like pressing the gas on a pedal. I know that we use more gas the faster we go. So I really love your down bows, and I feel like you're totally exaggerating them, which is great. This is exactly what we want to do. You're starting nice and quiet, and then as you get to the tip, you're really getting to a full dynamic. And when you start the up bow, can you start just as loud as you just ended? And then come to nice piano. So one more time, Donovan.
Right. Okay.
Woo! Thank you, Donovan. That was awesome. I loved it. I could hear like really clear changes. Thank you.
Thanks, Donovan.
So if you guys have tried along or listened to Donovan doing it, if you try it yourself, it's a little bit like doing one of these things, tapping your head and rubbing your belly. It feels a little unnatural, but the more you do it, the more used to it you'll be. And it's just part of the tool that will add to our tool belt about manipulating our bow and how to draw out a certain sound, even though it might not be the most natural place to find it. Okay, so another thing that I want to try is, I thought this would be a good time to talk about this. The first note of this etude, number 8, we have an accent above the note. So we would use an accent, like we would use kind of like a marcato bow stroke. So to get that, I know that there's only like 3 of these notes in this etude, but I know that this is an important bow stroke for us to master. So if we could just get on the middle lower half of the A string. I don't want you to play your bow stroke yet, but see if you can, I'll try to close up on here. See if you can wiggle in place, but not make a sound. So you're feeling that natural resistance. So I placed my bow and I'm not moving the bow, but I'm wiggling it and it's not making a sound. And then when you're ready, just draw it down and stop. Okay, and we're gonna wiggle and go up bow. I know sometimes some people have don't really know how to exit that stroke. I feel like the best way to explain that, I was thinking about that this week. We all know what mimes are. So I guess like when you're in a box, I'm not good at doing this, but if you had to stop because there's a glass box in front of you, you just stop your arm. I'm sorry, that is so silly, but okay. So you're gonna wiggle and find that resistance, add a little bit of weight and pull and stop. Okay. So moving on, I was talking about the scales, using the scales as a vehicle to do the hairpin exercise. And I was talking to Donovan about how when we have a loud volume of sound, we naturally want to use more bow. So if we look at the first full measure of this etude, and we look at the 3rd and 4th beat, we see that there's a crescendo there. So I would naturally want to use more bow on the last note at the top of the crescendo. And here I would use half, so half bow. A little less here, maybe 1/3. And more for that C. You just need a little bit for that last note. And this is also great for shifting. We, as violinists, really like to naturally shift on an up bow. It feels good to have this kind of motion and have this kind of motion. So if we like to shift on an up bow, we naturally like to shift down on a down bow. This kind of gets flipped around in the second half of the etude. Okay, so as we get along, I want to go to measure 7. In measure 7, we have 4 grace notes. Sometimes it might seem odd to insert the grace notes into your etude. The way that I would practice it first is without the grace notes. So get the rhythm down first. So measure 7 would be, so quiet. So in the second page that has the handwritten note, right underneath the scales, I wrote it out what the grace notes would look like. So measure 7, as printed, is I drew a slash in it because those represent the grace notes. If you wrote it out, your A, you want to play that for an 8th note, and then the rest of the 4 grace notes, you want to play it as a 32nd note. So that's how I would break it down. And if you want to visualize it, hopefully that helps you. So it would be. So I played out every single eighth beat. So first of all, when you're learning this piece, take out the grace notes if they're tripping you up. And when you choose to work on them, I would separate, try to fit that in evenly into an 8th note. Try not to stylize the rhythm, or I would try to keep it evenly as possible. Okay, so now going back to the etude, in measure 10, the first beat of number 10, the downbeat of number 10, easy peasy as pie. It's just a happy quarter note. But after that, we have a 6-tuplet. And so what you want to do in the 10 is to subdivide. So ta, taka, taka, ta. So when you're playing that, taka, 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 taka. So that's what I'm thinking in my head. So again. So I feel like that's going to help you feel really confident accessing that group of 6. And right after that, there's a place that we could have a little bit of intonation problem. So right here, to get that D sharp back in tune. Here it's kind of weird because we're using an extension to get to the open E, to the A harmonic, sorry. And a good solution that I thought about that was to keep your hand frame stable. When you play that A, put your first finger right beside it and on the A string and hold it there. That's not a permanent solution, but it kind of keeps your hand grounded here. What you want to do in an extension is only extend the finger that you're using and not your whole hand. And so that your finger is very independent of each other. Okay. Another point that I want to get to is in, do you guys want to, we'll try some of these. I'll stop after the first half, and we'll have some people play the first half of this. In measure 15, we have the opposite. Instead of a fourth finger extension, we have a first finger extension down. And that could lead to some intonation discrepancies also. So I know that we saw that chart of a fingerboard, so we don't need to pull that up right now. But if you could just visualize where your intervals are, if you could really imagine it like a grid in your mind, that would really help. So if I played that measure 15. And then extension down the first finger. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like having the fourth finger down helps me find that extension. This fourth finger. So that helps me know that I'm in second position going into first position. All right, so I'm wondering if any of you lovely folks out there would like to play the first half of Etude number 8.
Donovan raised his hand, so we've got Donovan.
Awesome. Okay, Donovan, I would love to hear you play this. And another thing, I think this is a great exercise because we can always exaggerate our dynamics a lot. I don't know if you were trying to exaggerate your dynamics a lot during the scales, but I really liked the way you did it because it really came across. So if you could just keep part of your brain focused on the dynamics also. Sorry, I should have talked about this too. So like I'm going to take the second line, for example. If I play that, I'm going to use less bow for the quieter notes and more bow for the louder notes. And if we change that analogy to gas, I'm going to use less gas on slower notes and more gas on faster notes. But don't get this confused with speed. So all right, so I cannot wait to hear you try the first half.
So you want me to stop at the fine?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And Donovan, I guess you're probably still on your phone. Can you see these 3 lines if I do it like that?
Oh yeah, I got the sheet music.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll pull it up for everybody else to read. Okay.
Nice. Thank you for playing that. That was awesome. So I really liked your dynamics. I could hear it. I'm so happy you're going to the frog for your crescendos, and I really like your clear string crossings. So so what I mean by clear string crossings is that I'm not hearing any string changes that I don't want to hear. When I think you're making really good use of the breaks or the rests that we have. So you're setting it clearly on the new string. So let me try to find an example. So like measure 8. So I don't hear, you know, that travel of, yeah, exactly. So if you feel like you have some loose ends in your string crossings, all you want to do is set your bow and set your new finger on the new string, and then go. Okay, and then even there. Set your finger and bow. Okay, so I just want to address that place a little, just a bit more. So when I play the second finger, I'm already extending my fourth finger. It's awkward because it's not G natural, but it's G sharp. And then it goes to A harmonic. But thank God it's harmonic because it releases your finger. And you can use it as an opportunity to release tension there, right? Set the new finger. So how about we try that? Donovan, are you willing to try that right there in just a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take it slowly and go. Tuck it. Stop the bow and set it on G sharp. Okay, so take it nice and slow.
Okay.
Awesome. That is perfect. So we took it like a nice and breezy, easy breezy tempo. Did you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was at a slower pace. And what you want to do is exactly what you did a few more times, but just take it like literally 3 clicks faster, not 20, but just 3, just like a little bit. And then, and setting that pinky there is really going to help you feel good and confident, knowing that like, this is where I'm going to be. I know how long that stretch is. So for all the other students who are watching that place, that's exactly how you want to break it down. So before you play, subdividing your head, takata takata for 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, in. Set. All right, so let's go on to the second half. Thank you, Donovan, and wonderful job demonstrating for us.
Yeah, good job, Donovan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the second half is different. I feel like you can put any adjective on the first half that you want. Maza wrote espressivo, so it's expressive. I think it's expressive. It's also kind of cheeky or like mischievous. I don't know, there's something like very coy about it, or playful. It's very playful also. It's up to something. Then in the second half, it's E major. Okay, so it's dolce. It's supposed to be sweet, and it sounds a lot sweeter than the first half, and tender. So this is where we have a lot of the backward kind of bowing in terms of bowing and dynamics. So our down bows get louder as we get to the tip. So I just want to touch base on a few spots that could be a little bit troublesome and could use some more watering or nurturing. So the first place I want to talk about is measure 17, 18, 17, 18, 19. Measure 19. So measure 19, measure 19 has an octave. I think that octaves and unisons are really very naked sounding. So what I mean by that is if they're in tune, there's no attention paid to them. But when they're out of tune and they're not lining up, it is like very obvious that they're not in tune. So if there's one point of intonation that I want to talk about, it's right there. So right there, right? So a good exercise for you to do, and it kind of could be troublesome because there's also a string cross there, and we're in third position. I know there's like a lot of variables, right? So just like we treated measure 10 and placed our fourth finger ahead of time, I would love for you guys to try that. So I'm gonna do it slowly, if you could do it with me. I'm gonna go from 2 notes before that. And set your fourth finger down. And keep your first finger down anchored, because that first finger is going to roll over onto the A string. So, can everybody see my finger on my fingerboard?
I can see it. Yeah, let us know in the chat if you're like, I can't see that at all.
Okay, cool. So I like to, thanks Cameron, I like to work smart. So if there's a way that you don't have to like lift off a finger, or it could help you stabilize your intonation, go for it. Help that, let that be, build strength in your hand frame and intonation. So keep this first finger down. You can roll it over or move it over, but be very careful about that grid that you see, or invisible guitar frets. Another thing that you can do beyond just setting your fourth finger down is playing it as an octave double stop. Set. There we go. Okay. And if you play it as an octave together, it's really going to tell you if you're out of tune, and even a little bit out of tune. Right? So when I started that was a little bit flat, and then you have to sharpen up the fourth. It's also great because we're starting at the base of the octave, and that helps you put your pitch in your ear so that you know where you want to end up. That's how I've learned how to play octaves, to get the bass really strong and good. Okay, so again, set. Cool. So you want to do that a few times, and you'll kind of know your tendencies. So you want to be honest with your tendencies. It could be like, my fourth finger is going to be a little bit flat, so I know I have to stretch it a little bit more, you know? Just be honest with your tendencies, and when you know them, you know how to adjust what you want to do. Okay, so we're going to move a few notes past that to the end of measure 20, going into 21. It's a little awkward there because we're going on an up bow, but we're diminuendoing into a down bow. So we don't want to come crashing down on the down bow. So I'll play from the octave into there. So. Start strong and get quiet. So I do that in a few ways. So I want to have really good bow control there. How can I do that? I am lightening up my hold. So I'm not lifting. I don't want to think about lifting up my bow to get it lighter. I'm thinking of suspending it. Like if you just put your hand here, you're suspending your hand in front of your face. So just like that. Don't think about lifting, think about suspending. I am, so less weight by suspending your arm. I'm slowing down the bow, especially on the down bow, and entering there so I don't have that bump or speed bump there. Another thing that you could do is to strategically move away from a stronger sounding point. I did another video earlier. You guys already know this, but I am a visual person, or I like to learn visually, among other ways to learn. And so I drew like little sounding point roads. So I drew lines, but basically there's dynamics written on this side where my finger is, and it just shows a gradient from pianissimo, mezzo forte, forte. So if you're loud, you want to be here. And then you can strategically move further from the bridge to get quieter. So I really slowed down there. I hope you could see that I was moving away slowly. All right. So jumping forward now, I want to bring our attention to measure 20. Wait, 21? Okay. So I want to move our attention to 26. That's where we have an octave. No, we have, yeah, the octave E up in harmonic. When you shift there, it's great that we're playing on we're landing at a harmonic. So use that to your advantage. Take your harmonic shift with the touch of a harmonic. So shift very lightly. So I would think that shift lightly. Oh yeah, this is the weird part. You're shifting lightly, but you're weighing into your bow more. You're crescendoing into that. Kind of enjoy that because it's a very opposite kind of feeling. And you can do that slowly. And at the end of that measure is the same thing as we talked about again. We're diminuending into it. So and I hope you can see that I'm moving away from there at the end. Going into measure 32, I would like to play that downbeat and get to the frog if I could, because I want to have enough bow to do what I want to do for the rest of the notes in that measure. So you want to like reverse engineer in a way. You want to see where you want to be and take the notes ahead of that and see, well, how can I use the previous note to get to where I want to go? So I'll play measure 30. 30. I'll play measure 30. So and then now I can do. Okay. One more note, while I'm shifting there where I just did, I don't know if it might seem scary, but I think it's a really nice way to shift there because all of your fingers are lined up and you're playing on your fourth. So that means you can take your first finger and line it up and it's a semitone from your pinky. And okay, so on that down bow, it's light and fast. And you can see on the shift that my hand was creeping up behind and playing a semitone above the pinky. Okay, so as we get to the last two notes, of this etude, I know we're in a quieter dynamic, but we see these hairpins on the A's. The A's on the E string goes. I know it doesn't say to get louder, but if you have a decrescendo on a note, it might not always mean just to continuously get smaller and smaller in your volume. To me, this etude is telling me to give that A a little juice. So wherever you had that A, I would come back up to there so you have a place to come down from. Because if you continually get down, you can't get more down than down, right? So and then the last thing I want to talk about before we have Julian demonstrate the second half for us, is the measure with the rallentando, measure 36. I'm not so sure if you guys watch those cartoons, if you can imagine like there's a robot that's like powering down, but it's like, I want you to think of a robot that gradually just and then powers down, not like immediately, but it's ralentandoing into a power down. This is weird that we're talking about cartoons and music together, but I want you to think about it organically. It's not going to slow down all of a sudden. I also want to bring attention to this part because I don't know why. Fast notes are hard, but long notes are somehow even harder to hold long enough. So I want you to hold it long enough. It's for 3+ beats. So it goes into the 4th beat, like a quarter into the 4th beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would try to subdivide that rallentando. I'd be like chaka 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 cha. Right? That's really organic to me if you're feeling that all the way through instead of da dee da dee. Like that's really not as organic. Okay, so Julian, I would love whenever you're ready if you could demonstrate the second half, the E major part of Etude number 8.
Okay.
Julian, do you have this printed out or
I have it printed out.
Okay, perfect, awesome.
So from when we change key?
Yep, at the key change, yes. Awesome. Thank you, Julian. That was awesome. Thank you for demonstrating for us. So something that I think I forgot to mention this, and I'm really glad you demonstrated, and I would like to take a little moment to talk about the first full measure of this etude. And way to go to get that shift. That was at measure 30-31. That was awesome. So when we play this, I know that when we play chromatics, a lot of accidentals, and we're using the first finger to extend down, we want to make sure that it's super, super crisp. So oops, I made that E sharp a little bit too sharp. Okay, so are you using the fingerings that are printed in this etude?
Oh, probably not.
Well, my friend gave this to me since I haven't played this yet. But yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm using it. I'm using the fingerings. Yeah, I have it printed out. Yeah.
All right.
I have notes. I have notes. So.
Yay. Okay. Can we try to play that first measure? So we're gonna go, and then we're gonna replace that. So what I'm really looking for is really clean hinges on the first finger. Okay. good. That was even better. And that octave sounded even better. So I want you to think about like these intervals, like magnets, like some notes like really want to be right up beside each other. So one of those notes is right here. I'm sorry to bring it into a funny place, but it's like dolce. It might be tender. It might be sweet. It might be romantic. I don't know. Or it could be like very loving between like family members. It's like a mom hugging her baby. So I want you to think about that. It's very tight right there. Let's try it one more time. Good. Yeah, why don't you continue for a little bit?
Do you want me to start the second line of?
Sure, I'll find you.
We're sort of low on time, but you can
okay. Good. Thank you, Jillian.
Yeah,
all right. So something else that's helpful, like we did with Donovan and Julian, some places we slowed things down. So I want you to, I love slow practicing, but I know that you guys are at an age that you want to go fast. But remember to take time to go slowly and to take care of the notes and try it with a metronome. Try it slowly and slowly increase that speed and really hear those intervals. And there are different recordings of this online, and I just played it for you earlier. So take a listen to that and get those intervals in your ear. And I hope these pointers were really helpful to you guys. Thank you for participating in this masterclass.
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, for those of you listening, this is part of our AMP online masterclass series sponsored by the Chestnut Family Foundation. So thank you to Grace. Thank you to Donovan and Julian for playing for us. This is part 3 of a 4-part series. So the last class for this series will be next week, May 19th at 5 p.m. You can find the class links for this class and all our other master classes on our Facebook page and on our email blast, and all of these classes will be on YouTube. Tomorrow we have a horn and trombone class, and Thursday we have a trumpet and opera class. So I hope you guys can come to next week's class and to the other master classes. And thanks so much, Grace.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Sounds great. See you guys next week.